Hello, and welcome to the Healing Dreams Project, exploring projective dream work for your health and wholeness, with hosts Billie Ortiz and Dr. Royce Fitz. I am the producer, Viviana, and today we have a dream from our dreamer hotline. Yay! We have Kristin Lang with us, and I'm just going to give you a few words about Kristin before we dive into her dream. Kristin Lang had the great fortune of learning about dream work from Jeremy Taylor back in the mid-1990s. After studying with Jeremy for a few years, she has been an avid dreamer, lucid dreamer, and dream worker ever since. Kristin facilitates dream groups, intuitive painting workshops, and offers one-to-one coaching sessions that focus on dreams and creativity. Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Oh, we are thrilled that you are here, and we're going to go ahead and just press play on the dream.
But let's say where she's from.
That's a good question. Okay. Where are you from?
Yeah, I live on Vancouver Island in BC, Canada.
Beautiful. Very nice.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So here we go. I'm going to press play.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I had a dream I was curious about getting some feedback on. It was called Orcas, Porches, and the Black Sea. And in this dream, I'm at a beach on a warm, sunny day when I noticed some orcas swimming and playing just off to the side. I'm excited because I have my camera and I can start filming them. So as I watch these orcas fly-hopping and playing and coming up out of the water a few times, and I start filming, one comes right towards me, right up to the door, and it comes out of the water onto the beach. It almost felt like it turned into a beluga. Then I noticed there was another whale, and I'm feeling happy. And just then, a woman walks up on the beach, and she looks very out of place. She's very large, and she's dressed in a pink jacket suit and skirt with heels, and she's talking on the phone. She wants to talk to me, but I want to keep watching the ocean and filming these whales. Then all of a sudden, I see a large, sleek, almost metallic-looking horse emerge out of the water. And then another one. I think one of them might have been pink, and I'm totally amazed. Then I noticed behind me a pelican who had found a rubber dildo. I feel disgusted by that and roll my eyes in disbelief. But then I think to myself, it could make a good photograph, these contrasting images. And then all of a sudden an orca does a backflip, lands on its stomach, and just then a large manta ray-like creature flies out of the water over the orca, right over the top of my head and lands behind me. And I call out, I can't believe I'm seeing a black skate. And I woke up. And I don't know what a black skate is. I've never heard of one, but when I did look it up, I found out that it is a species of manta ray. And that's my dream. Thanks.
Wow. Quite amazing.
I'm noticing in listening to the recording, there's a lot of echo, and it will be good, I think, for all of us to be able to have Chris read the dream. Would that be okay to do that right now?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am at a beach. It's a warm, sunny day, and I'm on the sand. I'm looking at the ocean, and I was about to do something when I notice that there's orcas swimming right there, and they're playing in the water. And I get excited because they're there playing, but also because I have a camera of some sort. And so I run over in my excitement, and I'm watching them as they are kind of spy hopping and coming up out of the water. And I get the sense there are a few other people on the beach, and I go closer to the shore and I start filming them when one of them comes right up to the shore, basically right up, and it's almost like it's looking right at me. And it looks so cute. I feel in my dream, and there's a split second where I just have this feeling that it might have turned into a beluga, or like I saw a beluga, but it mainly stays an orca. And then there's also another whale playing too, and I just feel happy. I mess around with the camera for a little bit because it's a very old school kind of camera, and the buttons aren't where I normally expected them, but I do find it. And as I'm doing this, a woman is walking up the beach that looks very out of place. She's large. She's dressed in a pink skirt and jacket, like a suit. And she has on high heels, and she's talking on the phone. I get the sense she wants to talk to me, but I just want to focus on these whales. So she feels like a distraction. And suddenly I see a horse emerge out of the water that looked very large. And at first it almost looked like metallic, like dark, but then I also got the sense it might have been pink, I think I said, yeah. And I feel very amazed by all of a sudden this horse emerging. And then I noticed behind me there's a pelican, and a pelican has found a big, I believe it was purple dildo. And my first thought was, I wasn't disgusted by the fact that it was a dildo, but the idea of plastic and marine creatures is what just sort of made me feel disgusted. And then I had the thought, but this would make an interesting photograph. Maybe I should take a picture of this kind of contrasting image. And next, the orca grabs my attention again by doing a complete flip and landing on its stomach, again, like looking directly at me. And just as it does that, this kind of ray, stingray type creature, it wasn't as big as the large manta rays, but it was a little smaller, and it just flies right out from the water over the orca's head. It flies right at me, skims over the top of my head, and lands behind me. And then I just yell out, I can't believe I'm seeing a black skate. And I woke up.
And as the dreamer, I didn't know what a black skate was until I looked it up afterwards, right?
So, no, I was just, why would I say that? What does that mean? I had no idea. And I looked it up, and then sure enough, skates, and particularly there are black skates, are a type species of ray.
Uh-huh.
So that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions I'm sure listeners have, as well as Billie and Viviana have. So because we don't know you, I don't know you, you said you live on an island, Vancouver Island?
That's right.
And so as the dreamer, do I go out on the beach and walk sometimes? And do I take photographs? Do I film?
I do go to the ocean fairly regularly. It is not that far from where I am. And I do carry my phone. I wouldn't call myself a photographer, but when I see something interesting, I will capture it and take photos. And I guess, I don't know if it's okay for me to say this now, but ocean and whales are a very predominant dream theme for many, many years in my life. It's just, yeah. They're there regularly.
So in some way, some of the elements in this dream that I have are recurring. So I dream of orcas every once in a while, and whales.
I would say dreams of whales and dolphins are very recurring over many, many years. Orcas have been coming lately, showing up a lot in the last few months. I've had some very potent dreams with orcas, but they're not my typical whale.
They're not my typical whale dream.
Whale dream, exactly.
And if my memory is correct, orcas are technically related to dolphins.
Yes, yeah.
But a beluga is a species of whale.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Gotcha. Okay.
So in the dream, I describe the camera as an old school type camera. Is it like a old 35 millimeter with multiple lenses, or is it something that I've owned, like something I've owned as the dreamer before in my life?
No, I don't even remember seeing lenses. It just felt like something I was carrying, like with a strap and a pouch. Like it wasn't something familiar to me. And so when I went to use it, the way I would normally press a button or go to use it wasn't the way I'm familiar with. And it just took me a little bit to figure out there were buttons like on the side, but it was not something I'd seen before. And it just felt like old.
Yeah. So it was like a camera that would take film.
Yeah, it almost felt like, yeah. I wasn't looking in it and snapping a picture. It was like
right.
Like almost like on a reel or something. Yeah, like film.
Huh. See, in my version of the dream, that's very intriguing because we're all so used to now having our phones available for video and photograph immediately, which is quite remarkable. And to have a film camera in my version of the dream would somehow put a time marker on this for me, because I would have to look back and say, when was the last time I took a photograph with film that I had to take to a developing center to have the photograph, and how long that whole process would take. And I remember the days of film and worrying about accidentally exposing the film and ruining it, or the film would sometimes get too old and then the pictures would turn out like really badly. So there's something about, in my version, that stands out to me in the dream, because it's showing a time in my life that goes way back.
Yeah, very interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about the camera very much at all, to be honest.
What struck out for me in my version of the dream is the pink thread that is woven in between everything. So the woman has a pink suit. The beluga is pinky in color. Even pelicans have pink in their beaks. Some of them, the South American ones. The ones here are not. I'm in California. Not so much. The South Americans have it on their body as well. They're pink. And there was the dildo was purple, was stated just now, not in the recording. So there's something that pinks. I think there was one more thing that was pink. The horse, one of the horses was pink metallic and pink sleek. So I just wonder what pink would mean. For me, the pink would be it's the color of love, perhaps. The color, maybe, red would be more passion. Pink, purple is the crown's chakra. I'd say pink is like a sort of a watered down love, maybe universal love, and combined with the purple would make it more of a spiritual love. But I wonder what the dreamer has to say about pink.
Yeah, pink is interesting. I like pink as an idea. And when I think of pink, I feel happy. Like pink to me is a happy color. And interestingly enough, I just bought recently a very bright kind of pink sweater and just wondered if I'd be able to wear it. And I did try, and then I couldn't really do it. So pink is a color I like to look at, and especially more light shades of pink, almost like that vintage pink. But it's not generally something I would wear, but I do like it.
When did I have this dream?
This dream was just a few weeks ago.
So
Yeah.
this is recent.
Very recent, yeah.
I feel compelled because with all the listeners, I would encourage them to go to the website and look at what the projective dream process is about in a little more detail, because this is how we're exploring this dream. So as I'm borrowing this, part of what kind of wells up inside me is how outrageous, how strange, how beautiful, how out of the box this dream is. And of course, all dreams are strange and beautiful and out of the box. This one has some particular aspects. And I'm reminded again of how behavioral scientists and sleep scientists often say, okay, dreams are to help us consolidate all of the issues, memories, difficulties, information that we've had the last several days or so. And so the dream is helping to do that inside the brain and inside ourselves. And we have a dream like this, that it's like, you can't make this up. and except we do make it up. That's the beauty of this process is, dreams do help us consolidate, and so much more. I love that this camera is a vintage camera. And if I remember correctly, as I'm listening to the dreamer, I am filming, and the whale or the orca and or beluga comes up to on the shore, which, in waking world, that could not happen and be safe for the creature. And yet in this dream, it's just here it comes. And there's almost a knowing. I am being known by these beings of the ocean, and I live close to the ocean. So the ocean is a deep part of my psyche. These beings are coming out, and for me, there's a creation energy aspect of this dream of here's another being that comes forth. When I was reflecting on the color pink, I was thinking of some version of flesh color that was emerging for me, and how that's, for me in my dream, seems to be a kind of the flesh tones, a kind of intimate awareness of my own self, as far as how I know myself, and that was a very particular color that kept recurring. The horse, in my view, horses, not always, but in my view, horses sometimes represent a sense of power and a sense of freedom. And there's morphing that happens in this dream. For instance, could one of the orca become a horse and leap out? There's a strange and beautiful unity of all of these elements. This woman who comes, very out of place, yet, out of my soul, I create this dream. This woman in pink, and in high heels on a beach, talking on a cell phone, and seems to want to talk to me. And it's so this, it's like, okay, what aspect of me is trying to get my attention? And then I think of her as being kind of a mother earth spirit as well. She's very large, very earthy, like a fertility, in my projection, a fertility goddess in very modern form. And, because in my view, she's a goddess and she can walk on sand in high heels and do a lot of other things. And good for her. I'll stop right there. I have other projections. These are fun to let them roll with the tide, if I may use a little pun.
That's good.
When I first heard the dream, I was just struck with, well, first of all, no, I want to ask the dreamer if there are any comments first before I say anything.
No, I'll let you go ahead, and still taking it in.
Well, I very much resonated with this dream. I loved all the entities that come up are all magical figures for me personally. I love the ocean. I also live by the ocean. I constantly am communicating with dolphins and whales, and the fact that they would come up in my dream just makes it even more magical and deeply, deeply spiritual. They're my friends. They're my allies, and they're here to remind me of my beautiful and magical, the magical part of me that needs to be expressed, perhaps needs to come out more, needs to be maybe acknowledged, and not be so, it comes out in the form of a whale, which is the largest, the orca. It can be thought of as dangerous. It's also huge, and so it's very powerful, and the ray that comes out leaps over me. And mantas, I know, are huge, and the fact that I came up with the word black skate, then figured out that was a type of manta. I mean, this is just saying, screaming magic within, intuitive magic, and witchy magic, in all positive sense of all of that. It's just such a enchanted dream with enchanted figures, reflecting the enchantedness of my being.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Very nice. Wow. So as the dreamer, even though I live near the ocean and I visit the ocean a lot, I, Billie, have worked a lot of dreams about oceans and beaches, even for people that don't live anywhere near the ocean or beach, or haven't even visited it themselves. And I always think about it as the beach is where the conscious realm and the unconscious meet. And the beach is like the liminal space between the two, because I think of the earth and dry land as more conscious, the more logical kind of part of our brains and psyche. And then when we encounter the ocean in our dreams, it so often for me stands for the collective unconscious, because the whole globe shares the oceans. So in my version of the dream, and all the versions of ocean dreams that I as the dreamer have had, I'm stepping into that realm to be, to recognize and witness the collective unconscious. So here are these magical creatures, just like Viviana is saying, there's all these different creatures that I encounter. This is really quite populated with so many different versions of, we've got the orcas, we've got the pelican, we've got the metallic horse, we've got the black skate, and then we even have this woman that appears out of nowhere. like what the hell is she doing there? And it's like there's, so for me, often when we dream about any type of creature, I think to myself, it's about instinctual energies, the part of me that is connected more to responding to things through instinct. And these creatures are certainly trying to get my attention, especially because the orca comes up so close and the black skate leaps over me. So there's something in my, as a dreamer, something's coming to me in the dream language to say, I have all these energies to tap into. I have all these instinctual energies available to me if I'm ready to accept them as my spirit animals. And then there's always that one part that I think about, which I so often project on people's dreams now, is we all know how polluted the oceans have become with plastics. And that's one of the things as the dreamer that I say, well, I wasn't disgusted because it was a dildo. I was disgusted because it was a rubber dildo in the ocean. So and I just read something the other day about how the plastics break up into these tiny, minute particles. And now, sadly, so many of the sea creatures are mistaking this for food. And then so there's there one layer to the dream about how am I called to help in some way, to bring this awareness to others, and to also whatever I can do in the scope of my personal community. How can I help to prevent further pollutions to the oceans? I say that I project this a lot because I have a very strong intuition that the dreams are doing the best they can to keep coming to us to say there's something you can be done about it now. And as Jeremy Taylor would say, we wouldn't be dreaming about it unless there was something we could do about it. So there's that layer as well. There's not only my personal development and my intuitive instincts, my connection to my spirit animals, my connection to the ocean, my connection to the collective unconscious, but also what am I doing in my life to help this crisis that we're all faced with.
Yeah. Well, I really love all your reflections and your projections. Yeah, and it's really speaking to me. So do you want to hear what I'm thinking right now, or?
I do.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful. We can go with our projections for several days.
It's true.
and it'd be lovely to hear how you're processing and holding our projections.
Yeah, well, they're all really resonating with me. And so, Royce, when you were talking, it was interesting because you were talking about the woman and saying, in your dream, she's a goddess, she's the mother figure. And I didn't really make that connection in my dream. But what's interesting, because this orca energy has been coming to me recently, and a few weeks before this dream, if it's okay to bring this in because I feel like it's very related, I had a dream of another orca, and I was at the ocean again with a camera, and this orca looked right at me. It was on its back, and then it rolled over. It looked directly in my eyes, and then it shape-shifted into this huge, beautiful Polynesian goddess who just stared into my eyes, and we had just a moment of a knowing, and that was it. But it was very, very powerful. And so when you make this connection in this dream, I'm going, okay, she came very differently, but it's another older woman, matriarchal kind of, because the woman was, older than me in my dream. So I'm making this connection that, yeah, this energy is going together somehow with this orca and showing up, and there is this sense of morphing and shape shifting, and then I just love this call to my magical side that Viviana has talked about, because I do feel like that is a potential strong message in this dream, and potentially I'm being called to step up to that, to kind of owning and acknowledging this side of me that I would say maybe it's more kind of hidden, that I don't really let in my life come forward as much as could be. So yeah, I really resonated with that. And then so Billie, what you're talking about is really interesting, because it's, when this, we always look at the personal level, and then there's the collective energies and the archetypal energies, which this feels very much like that. But I feel like there's almost like a next level of it. It's like the world earth energy speaking in here, not just to me, but in a big, almost sort of general sense about, yeah, the state of our oceans, and what can we humans, and that perhaps this kind of dreaming is coming to many people, many of us, with these glimpses of connection. So I really appreciate that part of what you're saying.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, and it is coming frequently to many people. I've worked on many dreams with animals. Sometimes the animals show up slightly deformed, which is concerning to me, because it's like, as an overview of that they're obviously showing that they need help. And I've also worked dreams. One very magical dream I worked a few months back was a woman's under the ocean. She knows she's under the ocean, and she just kind of goes by this rock, and she sees this huge eye, and it's a whale. And that was the entire dream. And we worked this dream in the group, and it was, we were like in tears, just feeling the power of this incredibly magical being coming to the dreamer, in the sense of like, help me, hello, I'm here, I need you. And I see, I'm kind of tingling as I say this, because I believe the dreams come from nature, and nature is calling out to all of us. This is time. This is the time to do something now. And it's almost like, when I think of this, when you say large, this woman that shows up on the beach, do you mean overweight, heavy, or large, like tall? Or when you say large?
She was just large in stature, like tall, and a big bone, strong, sort of, not a petite woman.
Right. So
not larger than life,
yeah.
Which was the other dream I had when this Polynesian, she was took up the entire sort of dream space.
Wow.
Big.
Wow. Because this woman, the way you describe her, is like she's got some sort of like almost like a business suit on that's pink. It's like a skirt and a jacket or something, and she's on the phone, and she's in high heels. So it makes me think about, this woman wants to get down to business, and she wants, and I, as the dreamer, I have the sense like, oh, she wants to talk to me. So like, this might be the messenger, the goddess's messenger, the secretary. It's like, listen, we've recruited you as I'm the dreamer, and I'm accepting the fact that I'm being recruited. But wait a minute, hang on, I'm ready to just take pictures and stuff and hang out here. But this woman wants to come down. She's a businesswoman in my version.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I really, I hadn't even considered that, but that makes a lot of sense to me. And I did have a feeling a little bit afterwards that I felt a tiny bit bad that I kind of dismissed her, and that I wished after I could have maybe seen what she wanted.
Right.
But the whales were really the star
Right.
of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
I think in my unconscious and conscious, I get inundated with so many messages and thoughts and feelings and ideas, and for me, also in my dream, the whales, the orcas, the horses, are all capturing a part of me that feels really, in my dream, feels really good. I'm very, very intrigued by this. I'm wondering about the pelican and the dildo. To me, that may be a kind of a transition in the dream, uh, and I'm not sure why I say that. It's such a stark shift, uh, and the did the pelican fly close to me, or is this off in the distance?
It was just on the ground.
Oh, it was on the it what
It
didn't
wasn't
fly.
flying, it was on the beach. And
So
yeah.
okay, so and it finds a dildo in
Yeah, it
the
was just
water
lying.
lying there.
No, it was just lying on the sand. It's just sort of, it wasn't
Mhm.
in the water. Hmm.
You know, we can all imagine why a dildo would be on the sand, and it probably has happened before. Uh, so this dream speaks of some kind of intimacy as well, and then I drift back to the pink color, the flesh color, and again feminine, not knowing if, of course, if the dildo is, you know, a feminine object or a masculine or both. However, that and that is kind of a, I think Viviana was saying, it's kind of a royal-ish color, um, along with the pink. So I'm curious about this in my dream, about the journey towards intimacy, an even deeper intimacy, perhaps an intimacy that is often discarded, um, as this one is on the beach, and and um, uh, and I don't really know where to go there, go further, because it is an intimate conversation to have, an intimate awareness, and yet I had this dream created. I helped to create this dream. And then again, the woman, the goddess, perhaps symbol that comes. I begin to, when I was listening to Billie, I begin to, it's like, and we all know this, we know the earth is way beyond the balance. What does recovery look like at this point? And I can be a doomer sometimes. And it's like, I just want to, yeah, I feel overwhelmed. Is that what this dream is saying? Is, yeah, we're all overwhelmed. We're yearning for healthier connection, better connection, and we don't know what recovery is going to look like. If there is recovery, and that's another piece. Uh, I know that dreams like this often have warnings to help us become more alert, become more active, become more involved at the microscopic level as well as the macro level, on helping to save all of us out of love. And there are no guarantees that recovery will happen. There are no guarantees. And so I do fall into a kind of a helplessness, overwhelmed sense of despair despair sometimes about all of our beauties, all of our beings are to some extent dying. What, if any, does recovery look like?
Mm.
I saw something in Viviana. I was curious where you were going.
Well, it just reminded me of the dream that we worked on about the waterfall, and you tapped into my exact plight in life.
Oh, right, the
Yeah,
previous episode. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, the Chilean river.
river, yeah, and yes, finding plastic, and you spoke of the microscopic and
Macro.
macro, and these are microplastics that we're dealing with in the ocean that we are also ingesting, and it's in our water, it's in our food, it's in our fish, and it's a huge issue, and it is a very, very current issue, and it's, I feel it very, very personally. I completely identify with this issue, and yeah. I found, just while Royce was speaking, I found that not only does the woman is also sort of an interrupter. There are a lot of interruptions. I mean, just the fact that the whales, that's, if one sees an orca, it's an interrupt. All of a sudden it's like a shooting star for me. And then to see the large woman in pink on a cell phone, another interruption. And then, so the dream, it's almost, there was one other interruption that it's escaping me right now. Well, the all these wonderful animals, the pelican, and they're unusual to have a manta jumping over me. So there's something, it's like strong and clear message of that's sort of shaking me to take action of some kind. So just mirroring what Billie was referring to.
I had no idea what a skate was either, and I looked it up and saw a bunch of pictures, and I thought, where does the word skate come from in describing this variety of manta? And in this dream, the skate basically it touches the top of my head, and again, it feels like a calling for me. And we all have multiple levels of calling, just like this dream has multiple levels of meaning. In the most superficial sense, the dream is helping me consolidate the information I know about our dying planet. Okay. And there is so many, there are so many other levels of meaning, some of which we'll never know, but it is such a rich story, an amazing movie of the soul and of the heart and of the earth and of all the beings. And what is this? What does it mean that I'm having this dream now? What does it mean that I'm having this now? I often in my dreams converse or view whales, orcas, dolphins. So that isn't unusual. Am I missing something? Is there something that the callings are not being held or listened to the point of me being able to follow? And or not, I don't know, but recurring images sometimes mean that for me.
Yeah, I would just say that I did feel like that as well, especially because this orca beings keep showing up. And so I feel like there's really something that's asking me to really pay attention more. There's one thing I'll say that hasn't, well, it came up, and I'm just kind of curious about the potential of, so I know about orcas that some species follow a lineal matriarch line, so that the grandmothers are sort of the head of the pods, and they stay together. They families stay together under her, sort of leadership, I guess is a way to say it. And so there's something about that there for me that I feel like is maybe worth exploring more, because and then with the goddess that came up out of, morphing out, and then this woman, and I have been in a period of my life of doing a lot of work around my ancestry and work with my mother and those lines. And so there's a connection in there, I believe, as well.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it just pulls up the fact that in my dream, I feel disgusted at first by the marine creature and rubber dildo, and I roll my eyes in disbelief. But then I think to myself, and this is where it's just brought up and it's highlighted. It could make a good photograph. So I love this about me, that I'm able to take something that's disgusting and make something creative out of it. So I just wanted it. I feel like the dream is underlying that for me.
It's very good.
I'm curious about also this backflip, and lands on its stomach and looks directly at me. The backflip for me, I don't know why, just my tarot self reminds me of the hangman. And it's almost like if the part of me, the orca part of me, were to do a backflip, and I would get a completely new perspective on things, on my life, on my journey of my work. So I'm just wondering if that orca backflip is just encouraging me to also sort of take a look at my world from a different perspective.
That's good. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, 100%. And I've been actually, I was just speaking about that this morning to a group that I was a part of, talking about wanting to flip my perspective. And, yeah, in lots of different ways, but, especially in that way of how we show up, on this planet. And we're so used to being, it's all about me and the self and I, and what do these things mean about me? But really flipping it more to that larger meta perspective of, how am I fitting into this story of Earth, and what is it asking of me more, do you know what I mean? So I'm realizing that I need to remind myself to, even on just that level, which is a big thing, to change my perspective. But I think I could take it down to lots of other things, and personally as well.
Yeah.
And I'll just say too, one more thing that popped up is about this creative piece. I really appreciate that, because for me, purple and pink are very much colors I put together a lot when I paint, and in my creativity, they're just very, I don't know, they're colors I'm drawn to a lot in art.
Yeah.
That's helpful for me to hear you say that. I see Billie was going to say something. Do you want to go ahead?
No, go, please.
Well,
I'll say some later.
so listening to how we're processing this dream, I love this idea of a new perspective, and the complete flip by the orca or the whale, and then this being looks directly at me, and this is a goosebumpy moment. As I'm processing this, part of this is like, there is a unity. We are not alone. in carrying the weight of this world, where that the manta, or the skate, is saying in my dream, I'm here too, I'm trying to do my part. The woman is saying, I'm here too, I'm trying to do my part. The beluga, the horse, the orcas, we're all trying to, the pelican, we're all trying to do our part. We are doing our part. So I have uh, some ahas going, this is a burden we all share, we all carry. And they are, I'm human, and I do carry the weight of assisting in the pollution. I own that. And I am not alone, though, in trying to carry the rebirth or the recovery process. We all creatures are working in their own way, in our own way, to bring some version of healing to all of us.
Well, the only thing I was going to mention that as we've swirled around in the stream during this time, was the horse seems out of place to me too. I mean, so when I say because we've got all these sea creatures, and then all of a sudden there's this horse, but it's described as a metallic horse. Is it? Can you give me more visuals about that? Is it?
Yeah, it was a little hard. It's almost like how the whale, the orca, almost seemed like it turned into a beluga, but I wasn't 100% sure. It was like a flash of like, was that just a beluga as well, or did it? And I wasn't sure. And the horse was the same. It was like, there was a horse. It was like, was that, part of it was just trying to recall, but it was like, was it metallic? It just felt like metallic and just like dark almost for a second, but then it also almost felt pink. So it was like that moment of shifty, I guess, in some ways.
And the horse comes out of the water, or he's on the shore, or how does that?
The horse was just sort of there. It didn't emerge out of the water like it was under the water and came out, but it was very much like in the water right there, right with the orca, kind of just there. Really just seemed like it appeared.
Well, in my dream, I just find that really curious, because it's sort of like, Sesame Street, like one of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong. And in my dream, the horse just like, it's almost like the dildo. It's like, like, why the hell is that there? So if it were my dream, I would look at that a little closer and just see like, why would, and also, when there's that ambiguity that we have with recall, with dreams, it's quite often a possibility that I might be having two simultaneous dreams. And that's why in one version there is a horse, and in another version there is no horse. And I, it's something that it helps to expand our consciousness. A lot of times it's like most of the time it shows up like this, where they'll say, I'm driving in the car, and then they'll go, no, wait, I'm in the back seat. And then they go, no, wait, I'm in the passenger seat. And what's happening there is I'm having all those versions of those dreams more than likely simultaneously, which is something that's very difficult to record in the waking world. So whenever I invite all the listeners to bring this into their awareness, whenever it's very hard to get the details of a dream, it's possible that it's both and.
Mm-hmm.
To honor that. So I'm glad that you recorded that as well, even though it's like, oh yeah, it was kind of a flash and I just sort of saw it, and it was kind of metallic, maybe pink, and then boom, then okay, there's this thing, all these things are flipping and flying over me. So anyway, it just seems like a bit out of place for the whole different characters of the dream, creatures of the dream. So look at that closer too.
When the dreamer spoke of the shifting dark pink metallic horse, I immediately went to Trojan horse. And I wonder if the dream is trying to warn me of a Trojan horse in my life. Is it a warning or is it a good thing? Is it um, a a message of to be aware of, or to be just to protect myself, or is it a message to uncover?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know what to make of the horse. The only thing that came to me, and I like, Royce, what you had said about, you know, we're all doing our part here. I really like that, and I do kind of get a little sense of that too, of feeling from this dream, like each is carrying its piece. But the thing about the horse, well, there are two things that came up. You know, I don't know, maybe it's because of the time we live in and technology. We all get to see a lot of animal videos now that we previously hadn't seen. And, you know, there's a lot of different animal interspecies connection and communication and things we just might not have been aware of before, right? Like different kinds of animals befriending each other. And now we can watch videos of it on, you know, wherever. That kind of popped through my head, even though the horse didn't seem to interact with the whale, but they were right there together. So that was one thing that popped in my head. And the other thing is that horses for me are very powerful. And I have never really had much of a relationship. I've never been around, I didn't grow up around horses. So they're very intimidating. They're very large. And I want to get close, but I usually kind of step back because it's not familiar for me, this animal. And I feel that way also about orcas, because if I think of all the ocean creatures that come to me in my dreams, you know, often I feel like I could just dive in the ocean and hug them and maybe swim with them, even though they're large, but not orca. There's this, you know, orca's a little scary, right? And in my dream, it doesn't feel scary. They're very friendly. But the horse and the orca share a similar energy for me there. And I just thought to mention that.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a very important piece. Yeah.
That reminds me of the Gestalt understanding of this dream, that every element is actually an aspect of who I am. And if I gave Orca a voice, what part would that represent that is me, as well as the horse, as well as all of the other elements in the dream? I think I would spend some time holding that conversation, maybe on paper, maybe journaling, letting each one of those elements visit with the one that I know is me.
Yeah, I definitely will take that forward. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it too, I mean. Good idea.
Yeah. So, Kristin, does this feel like a good place to bring this to an arbitrary close, or is there anything else you want to explore about your dream that we haven't touched on?
Wow, not that I can think of. That was a lot, and it was wonderful to get your projections and your thoughts. It's just really opened it up more for me, and I just feel like this is a dream that is just going to keep working me, and I will keep working it. There seems to be, it feels pretty big, and yeah, I appreciate spending some time with it.
Great.
That's a beautiful reflection, Chris, and it reminds me, so we work with all levels of dreamers. Some are brand new at paying attention to dreams. Other people are very, very deeply involved in their own dream process. And as I experienced a dreamer, she is deeply deeply involved in discovering the meanings of dreams, the multiple. And here's a piece that stands out to me is no matter how well we work our own dream, when we offer the dream as a gift to others and we take in the dream, as this becomes our dream, this lifts up an expansive, out of the box understanding of what dreams like this mean. And I experienced the dreamer being able to appreciate that ability that, yes, individual dream work is amazing and wonderful, and group dream work can truly open us up into new avenues of understanding about ourselves as well as our whole lovable universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I feel very much like these dreams just feel like gifts, and some of them it just feels like need to be shared and want to be shared.
And they become gifts for the listener as well, certainly to me.
Yeah, for me too.
For all of us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you so much.
One thing I totally forgot to mention, that it was in my brain and then it flew out when I was speaking. The horse, for me, I thought, well, that's a literal sea horse.
Oh,
So
funny.
I'm seeing a horse, and it's from the sea. And anyway, so I would just throw that into the mix as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, that had crossed my mind as well. I was like, oh, it's literal. Yeah.
Mhm.
See,
Mhm.
that's cute. That's good.
So maybe this is a good place to encourage the listener to visit Kristin's website, kristinlang.ca, spelled KristinLang.ca. So I am looking at it right now. Kristin Lang is a creative. She's a mentor, a muse, and a guide. And she has some lovely mermaid paintings. And so I encourage you to take a look at her website. She has a lot of lovely things to offer.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us, Kristin. And RoyceFitz.com. What does Royce Fitz have to offer on his website?
Well, I offer a very broad exploration of spiritual counseling and dream work. And those are my passions. And I'm, in addition, licensed as a clinical marriage and family therapist, and enjoy having deep soul-searching conversations with folks about what avenues do we have? What can we do to create new meaning and new purpose and new healing, both for ourselves as individuals and also in relationship to other humans, as well as to the sea beings that Kristin brought to us today. So that's a part of my passion. I'm also getting ready to have my book released later this spring, The Geography of the Soul, Dreams, Reality, in a Journey of a Lifetime. So I'm looking forward to sharing more of that with our listeners as well as this unfolds.
All right.
Thank you, Royce. And Billie, tell us about your offerings.
Well, I can be
your website.
I can be reached at wakeuptoyourdreams.com. I run a couple of groups throughout the month, one that meets in the evening and one that meets during the afternoon, all via Zoom. And I'm also going to be doing another in-person dream retreat after the grand pause. We did one back in October of 2022, and now this will be retreat number 31, and this is the 20th anniversary of the retreats. Actually, I started in way back in 2003, Royce was actually at the very first retreat back then. So so this is a celebration of the spring retreat is the 5th through the 7th here in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm also working closely with Adosa Wellness, and I'll be a guest teacher, an on-demand guest teacher with them. So if you go to adosawellness.com, ADOSA, and it's also on my homepage of my website. There's a link there as well.
Fabulous. Well, I wanted to add something that I meant to add when I was introducing Kristin's website. The other tagline on her website is helping women reclaim the potent power of menopause, embrace their wisdom, and step into a more authentic future. I think Kristin, you didn't look menopausal to me. I mean, you seem so young. So I was surprised when I saw that, and I thought, wow, I don't know that many people who work in this realm. So it's just nice to have seen that. So I thank you for that. Again, it's kristinlang.ca. And I'm Viviana.org/magic, and it's live. I'm a musician, but I also do tarot and astrology and dream work. And let's see.
And look for her on Instagram as well, with her amazing musical talents using the flute and with others. Some beautiful
and her world travels.
Beautiful reels.
There's always a beautiful mountain or river behind Viviana with all her pictures. That's great.
Well, thank you. So I encourage you, the listener, if you have a dream, do as Kristin did and call it in. Our dreamer hotline is 720-573-9195. Again, 720-573-9195. Operators are standing
operators.
by.
Dream operators cannot wait.
Dream operators. Yes, follow us. Follow us, the Healing Dreams Project podcast, and like and subscribe and share with your friends. We are on Spotify, on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, TikTok. Follow Royce on TikTok. I just unearthed my TikTok as well. Anyway, I just logged in for the first time in months. Anyway, and yeah, we would love a review if you could send one into the Apple podcast area. This helps with the ratings and keeps our viewership larger, or at least ever increasing. We are here exploring the language of stories, of symbols, metaphors, and archetypes. Until the next time, thank you and happy dreaming.